Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 2025 North Carolina Transportation Summit. Please welcome North Carolina Board of Transportation member Melvin Mitchell.
Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here. A quick reminder, be sure to download the Attendance mobile app for details on sessions, speakers, sponsors, MEPs, and more. This morning's first general session focused on innovative transportation technology. Transportation leaders nationwide are exploring smarter, safer, and more efficient ways to shape the future of mobility. In this session, we'll highlight recent multimodal advancements and what's ahead for the industry. If you're ready to see what's await us on the horizon of transportation technology, please join me and welcome Deputy Director of Operation and Programming for the NCDOT Ferry Division, Kat Peel, to the stage to introduce our panel.
Good morning, everyone. That's a pretty good response. I heard Liz had to come and get you from the back or at breakfast, so hope everyone's excited. Thank you to the North Carolina Department of Transportation Board member Melvin Mitchell for being here to introduce On the Horizon, Innovative Transportation Technology. As mentioned, I'm your hostess with the mostest this morning, Kat Peel, the Deputy Director of Operations and Programming for the NCDOT Ferry Division. It's my absolute pleasure and honor to be with you this morning to highlight NCDOT's role in transportation. Today, we have four amazing speakers representing diverse transportation industries to discuss how transportation technology is shaping the future. To begin, we have Het Patel, City of Raleigh, Assistant Director at Transit. Het oversees daily Go Triangle bus operations and is at the forefront of advancements in North Carolina's public transportation system. So please join me for a warm welcome to Het to the stage. Our next speaker is Jim Lanier, General Motors Global Public Safety Engagement Manager. Jim focuses on vehicle safety technology and innovations like OnStar, enhancing safety for drivers and riders. Please join me in welcoming Jim Lanier to the stage. Next, we have Cara Ivanko, Siemens Mobility North America Vice President of Communications and Strategy. Cara leads rail technology innovation, including Siemens' first East Coast manufacturing plant right here in Lexington, North Carolina, producing the next generation of passenger rail cars. Please join me in welcoming Cara Ivanko to the stage. And last but not least, we have Tyler Duvall, Cavnew CEO and co-founder. Tyler is pioneering smart road technologies, which are improving how vehicles and road infrastructure communicate to enhance safety and efficiency. Please join me in welcoming Tyler Duvall to the stage. And with such a talented group of innovators here today, it's clear that transportation in North Carolina is moving forward at an incredible pace. Transportation has come a long way in a relatively short amount of time. So let's look at the road so far. You have to laugh. It is critical that as transportation continues to evolve, organizations like NCDOT lead the way in researching, planning for, implementing, and supporting new transportation technology. When we use the word transportation technology, what comes to mind? Pause, think about it for a second. It doesn't have to just be smart cars that can drive themselves or, as we have seen, getting themselves into traffic jams and parking lots. Maybe you think of something on your phone like Google Maps or an app that provides real-time information, keeping you informed and on track just like the Summit app. Ha, 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 ha. Great, 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 great. I love that you're all so excited to be here. Wonderful. Whatever your idea technology is, you're in the right place this morning. At NCODOT, we consider all these technologies and more to accomplish our goal. NCDOT strives to create an advanced, integrated transportation system where shared mobility options are affordable, convenient, reliable, and safe, and everyone has equal access to opportunities and services. We're proud to be at the forefront of exploring and implementing technology that strengthens our network and moves us to a brighter future. I won't expect you to laugh, it's fine. The DMV is leveraging technology to streamline customer interactions and enhance efficiency. Another example is NCDOT's flood warning system, which is a critical statewide component for forecasting and monitoring weather situations to provide advance notice and accurate real-time information. The NCDOT Turnpike Authority has won national and international recognition for its use of transformative infrastructure technology on newer segments of I-540 that integrate traffic management and modern interchange designs to improve safety, efficiency, and connectivity. And you know I can't leave out our modal divisions. Our mode divisions, including integrated mobility, rail, aviation, and ferry, are also an important part in a more advanced and fully integrated transportation system. From new crosswalk signals designed to minimize interactions between pedestrians and vehicles, to exploring AI, artificial intelligence applications, and vehicle advancement through our CASI program. Our Integrated Mobility Division, or IMD, is on the cutting edge of researching, analyzing, and introducing new transportation technologies. You may have seen the vehicle around, but the CASI program stands for Connected Autonomous Shuttle Supporting Innovation. This is NCDOT's initiative to test and evaluate how connected and automated vehicles can safely and effectively operate in a transit network. IMD's work on the CASI program highlights a critical aspect of transportation technology. Technology doesn't have to just mean computers, machines, and operating systems. Better tools need to be part of a larger strategic vision supporting success. Successful use of new technology is not possible without testing new technology, planning for their integration, improving infrastructure to accommodate advancements, and building new connections to support a more robust transportation system. If you haven't heard my story about how I had to do a quick test of the CASI's ability to stop on a dime, see me afterwards. It's a pretty good one. In 2024, NCDOT released its Advanced Mobility NC Strategic Plan. The plan focuses on development of key air and ground mobility technologies that, when integrated into the existing transportation ecosystem and adopted at scale, hold the potential to save lives, improve quality of life, and create access and opportunity for all North Carolinians. IMD and NCDOT Rail Division, which operates North Carolina's intercity passenger rail service, NC by Train, are working in collaboration to connect existing services and introduce new ones. These two great divisions are working with 7 communities along a 95-mile section of the S-Line corridor to plan for and increase transportation availability and efficiency. Through transit-oriented development and plans for mobility hubs, which centralize multimodal transit options at a singular location, our teams and partners such as yourselves are literally building connections which help drive access and connectivity as well as encourage economic growth and development. NCDOT's Rail Division is hard at work helping to improve railroad infrastructure statewide to increase passenger rail service, support the economic vitality of all railroad operations in North Carolina, and increase safety across the railroad network. NC by Train ridership has experienced tremendous growth recently, achieving record ridership in not only 22, 23, but also in 2024, carrying 720,000 passengers last year alone. Innovative technology in rail is necessary for current service as well as future projects like the S-Line, Raleigh to Richmond, and corridor identification and development programs. Both of these aim to expand NC by train service to new areas in North Carolina, hopefully the Outer Banks, so I can get here a little easier, and destinations outside the state. With better rail infrastructure and a variety of new technology, the rail division is on the fast track to a bigger, better rail system statewide and beyond. And of course, our aviation division is reaching new heights to shape the future of flight. NCDOT is working with 5 North Carolina communities throughout the state's first advanced air mobility planning grants to develop plans to incorporate electric aircraft and drone-based delivery into their local transportation systems. Last year, as you may well know, the state installed its first electric aircraft charging station at the Raleigh Executive Jetport. And in response to the devastation in western North Carolina caused by Hurricane Helene in September 2024, our aviation team is pioneering the use of what is referred to as drone in a box, which is technology to support disaster response and recovery. The program would have drones pre-positioned in a community before a storm, ready to launch at a moment's notice, and automatically to capture real-time images of damage and deliver life-saving supplies and equipment like medicine without putting people in harm's way. These efforts continue North Carolina's proud history as the birthplace of aviation, and NCDOT is excited to be a part of it. We're done with all those other modes. Let's talk about the ferry division. Finally, NCDOT's ferry division is also making waves. As maritime transportation continues to evolve, the ferry division exploring hybrid vessel options and providing access to our terminals with both passenger and vehicle ferries. The 2 most recent vessel construction projects, the Avon and Salvo, are diesel-electric vessels. This is a pretty major switch from the traditional diesel-only operating system to more electric systems, and has been a pretty unique and new challenge for our crews and mechanics. As you can imagine, being a diesel mechanic going to almost a computer engineer to figure out all of our problems and make repair plans. Future vessels are anticipated to be similar and will assist with emission reductions. In addition, the passenger ferry from Hatters to Ocracoke is on track to surpass last year's ridership numbers. We are continuously exploring options to provide reliable transportation to our terminals using both passenger and vehicle ferries. Recently, just last Friday actually, we resubmitted a grant application to investigate additional passenger ferry routes from Cedar Island and Swan Quarter to Ocracoke Island to help move residents and tourists in a more effective way. All this and more awaits us on the horizon of innovative transportation technology. I'm sure you're all over me talking to you specifically and want to hear from our very great speakers. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to announce our first speaker. We start our technological journey with Het Patel. Join me in welcoming Het to the podium.
Thank you, Kat. Good morning, everyone, and thanks again, Kat, for teeing me up with all of the work that the State Department of Transportation and its divisions are doing from a technology and transportation perspective. Again, that really shows you, and hopefully our messages today show you that technology can be used as a tool with different implementation timeframes from a horizon perspective and within the industry in a lot of different ways. My focus today is with the City of Raleigh's public transportation system, the Go Raleigh Transit System, as well as a specific technology that we're going to be introducing on the near horizon within the next 5 years, which refers to the bus rapid transit projects. The bus rapid transit projects themselves have a lot of innovative technologies built into them, but they're a technological tool in itself. And so I'll go over some of those highlights, what the projects are, and then again, some specific pilot projects that we have tried out to really see how this technology will work once we begin operations. So before I start, I want to give you an overview of the Go Raleigh public transit system. We serve the Raleigh and the surrounding municipality area within Wake County. we have about 36 routes, and a third of those routes are high-frequency 15-minute service. We have 1,400 bus stops within our system, and we have 93 active vehicles that provide that service daily, and we have an annual ridership of about 4.5 million passengers. You'll see in this visual that high-frequency 15-minute service in the past 2 years has nearly tripled, and it's continuing to grow. That is in lieu of a lot of our local Wake Transit sales tax funding that's coming in. We're doing a lot for public transportation just from a technology perspective within the Go Raleigh transit system and as well as the bus rapid transit projects. So again, I want to focus more specifically on the bus rapid transit projects. They're at the core of that high frequency 15-minute service for Wake County. We have 4 core corridors radiating out of downtown Raleigh in each cardinal direction: east, south, west, and north. They're all in a little bit different stage from a design implementation perspective, and that's where the horizon comes in. Again, we're looking at, in the next 5 years, having the first bus rapid transit corridor in North Carolina operational with New Bern Avenue corridor, which is the eastern corridor. We have the southern and western corridors also in final design. That'll be likely within the next 10 years that they will be beginning operations. And then we have some extensions for the next generation of bus rapid transit projects within Wake County area that are being currently studied as planning projects, feasibility studies, and also identifying routes to actually make that service happen. So what is bus rapid transit technology? It stands apart from fixed route service in a lot of different ways. We have dedicated bus lanes that give it its own guideway to make sure that the buses don't have to interact with a lot of congested areas. We have enhanced stations that are making it easier for people to get on and off the bus. We have specialized vehicles. If you have not seen them around downtown Raleigh, they are training right now with the 60-foot articulated vehicles that are going to be running this service on the corridors. We will have signal priority at traffic signals and signalized intersections. The overall span of service and the frequency is really what makes bus rapid transit stand apart from a reliability perspective. We're adding more hours of service, we're adding more frequent service and getting it up to 10-minute frequencies in the peak and off-peak times. And then we have off-board fare collection, again, also a technological tool that's helping people get on and off the bus faster along with our brand. So just to highlight a few renderings of that first corridor on New Bern Avenue, again, I want to highlight we have some wayfinding components that are also going to have technology built into it. So we are planning to have an interactive touchscreen display as part of the bold element of the station that will really help people, once they're at the station, figure out nearby businesses that they may try to get to, or if they're trying to interact with the rest of the transportation system, how can they plan their trip and get from point A to point B. We will have that level boarding station that, again, makes it easier for people to get on and off the bus, those 60-foot articulated vehicles. So again, just a couple more renderings that show some of the same. We do have art also planned as part of the bus rapid transit projects in a couple areas with the railings, the windscreen, and concrete at the platforms themselves. Here's a visual of what that dedicated bus lane looks like when they're in the median and they're physically separated from the vehicular lanes, again, allowing for more speed and reliability for the buses themselves. We also are working on including solar technology on the canopies of the BRT stations to really offset the cost of electricity that the station actually needs. And so again, that is another technological tool that is being used as part of the bus rapid transit projects. And one more rendering towards the end of the corridor where our infrastructure, dedicated infrastructure, ends on the eastern corridor at Wake Med. And then the last piece is, one of the flexibilities that bus rapid transit really provides us is we're able to go in and out of congested environments from dedicated lanes to mixed traffic running environments and meet with the existing conditions with vehicular speeds that may be a little bit higher and maybe the ridership isn't quite as high. And so we're able to go in and out of different design elements to make that tool work. The specific tools that I wanted to highlight from a bus rapid transit perspective and a couple of the pilots are the Transit Signal Priority Project. So we have a cloud-based solution that we have piloted as part of getting the first bus rapid transit corridor online that has looked at 16 intersections along New Bern Avenue. We've collected about 6 months worth of data to try to see how this technology would really work. Basically, we have the existing vehicle CAD AVL locator that's on the buses that can communicate to the traffic signal cabinets, and it can either request an early green or an extended green for the bus to try to get through congested areas faster. So essentially, the bus could have a presidential style escort from one end of the line to the other if it really wanted to. I know we have a lot of North Carolina Department of Transportation team members here and friends in the audience. We are not going to use it for that purpose, but I just wanted to highlight that we could do it if it was really needed. Essentially, though, again, the purpose of the technology would be to really help the buses stay on schedule, provide reliability from schedule perspective and on-time performance perspective. It also allows us to use that same technology to introduce queue jumps in those congested areas or in flexibility in design to allow for a vehicle to make a turning movement that is not normal. So for example, if you have a right side, curbside bus rapid transit lane on a one-way street that needs to turn left, with the through traffic going straight, you're gonna need a queue jump or a transit signal phase specific to the buses to make that left turning movement. And so we've really introduced that as part of that pilot project as well to see how that would work. The last thing I want to mention as part of my remarks is also real-time arrival information. So one of the barriers to public transportation is trip planning. A lot of people will choose from a convenience perspective to use their vehicles for their mode of transportation because they can't either figure out when the next bus is coming, they don't want to take the effort to plan for a trip that may be a little bit longer. And so what we have done with that same technology from the CAD AVL bus hardware is to connect it to real-time arrival signs at the stations, as well as a pylon element that will really provide a countdown for when the next bus is coming and really be more convenient information for people waiting at the station or around the station to know when that next vehicle is coming, and they can not necessarily have to plan their trips or rides and can just get on the bus and keep moving. So with that, I want to say thank you for attending, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the very end when we do the question and answers, and I'm going to pass it forward. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Het, for that look at what the future holds for the city of Raleigh bus rapid transit and public transportation statewide. I did want to ask, I'm going to throw a curveball. We didn't talk about it in the back, so I didn't prepare you. You talked a lot about infrastructure improvements going on, and with your recent promotion, congratulations again. In a short sentence, what is the most exciting thing in terms of emotion and services that you're going to provide to the city of Raleigh from your perspective with this?
I think it's going to be a difference maker for the customer experience, user experience. Again, convenience is one of the barriers to public transportation. A lot of our users are using it because they don't have a vehicle and have to use it. But additionally, the convenience factor comes in for people that could really rely on public transportation as a mode and provide more options.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Het. Our next speaker is comfortably parked in the world of vehicle advancements in technology and safety. Please join me in welcoming Jim to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Pretty good. It's always great to be back in North Carolina. I was born in the state, married in the state, and always love returning. So thank you very much to the North Carolina Department of Transportation for having us be a participant in this particular event. And so I'll be speaking on behalf of General Motors and OnStar. And so I am the Public Safety Engagement Manager for OnStar, Jim Lanier. And OnStar is a wholly owned subsidiary of General Motors. It's been providing safety services to General Motors owners since 1996, and then also has been collaborating very closely with the public safety community since that time as well. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit today in the 9 minutes or so that we have up here about OnStar. This is not a sales job of OnStar. Really, the focus is going to be on the safety components of OnStar. And we're going to kind of walk you through the safety services that some of you may be familiar with or maybe hearing for the first time. But again, we're looking to have an emphasis on safety. GM is very much a safety-oriented company. Some would say that GM is a safety company that happens to make cars. And OnStar is the brand that supports the GM brands such as Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, and also GMC. And we'll also have time at the end of the presentation, hopefully, with the other members to have some Q&A as well. So I've got a little collage here of some of the OnStar services. And this, by the way, is not all of them. We're going to be going a little bit deeper into some other slides. But many are familiar with, in a GM vehicle, you'll have the two buttons near the rearview mirror, actually located on the rearview mirror. And essentially from about 2015 on, those model years, we're able to have a connected state most of the time to these vehicles. We're technologically visible, as far as seeing what the vehicle's doing with the systems and so forth. And we'll talk more about that later. But the red button is an SOS, emergency type of assistance. And then we also have the blue button, which is more of a potentially non-emergency. You need directions, or you're not sure whether it's an emergency or not, go ahead and press the blue button. And we also have our trademark crash response. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit as well as we start moving through the slide deck. We have also, just for awareness, a platform called Guardian. And Guardian is for folks that maybe you don't have a GM vehicle, but you still want access to OnStar services. It provides crash detection. It provides roadside assistance. Up to 7 family members can be on this particular plan. And you can also access OnStar from an emergency or non-emergency type of situation. So it's kind of a full-fledged OnStar package, except it's not in the vehicle itself. We also work very closely with some of the ADAS features that are out there. Kind of level 2 towards level 3 at this point, and battery electric vehicles is certainly something that's very much a part of our world these days. And just for awareness as well, our team interfaces a lot with public safety on external facing and with other safety organizations, and internally we support strategy, product, and we also support the policy side of General Motors, especially the Transportation and Technology Policy Group. We ladder up actually to David Strickland. He's our VP, who some of you may be familiar with, was a former NHTSA administrator. So again, safety is paramount with OnStar and just throughout GM as a core tenet. So a brief overview of how OnStar works. So just again, broad level here. The vehicles, when connected, will be attached to GPS. We have a very robust 3-second update. So again, the location is usually quite accurate. And then we use LTE backhaul. So 2015 on is when 4G and 5G have come into play. We don't support 2G and 3G, unfortunately, anymore, but we do have LTE backhaul back to the OnStar back office. And that includes with the Guardian app as well as with the vehicles. And typically what's going to be transmitted out to the back office, and we don't track vehicles on a regular basis. It's only when we have a law enforcement situation or something exigent where we do that. But our advisors will be notified if there's an incident with the red button press, blue button press, or it could be something such as a crash. Maybe the vehicle occupants are incapacitated. The vehicle will go ahead and transmit the information as to there's been an accident and here's some core information that's going to be necessary to affect a response for public safety. More on that in just a moment. And one thing that is important is from that collage, even going back to there was a circle with a gentleman in it, wearing an OnStar shirt. Those are our advisors, and we're going to talk about them a little bit more here in just a moment, but they are key, they are core to OnStar services being effective. The technology is great, but we have amazing human beings behind the scenes, pulling the levers, doing the things that they need to make this a very, very effective safety platform. And so, for example, in a crash or an emergency situation, the advisor is going to be interacting with public safety and providing information while also taking care of the vehicle occupants with instructions. And again, more on that in just a moment. Service requirements, again, it's kind of basics to have OnStar available. Active service plan. Now, OnStar is a member subscription service, but that's not the only thing that it does. In other words, you don't have to be a member to receive OnStar services in certain situations, which I'll talk about briefly in a couple slides down the road here. Service plan is essentially their connectivity to the OnStar back office. Because again, there are situations where even if you don't have a subscription, you need help, we want to get you that help. Electrical system has to be up, battery power, there is backup battery as well for the system. Cell reception, the vehicles are engineered in a manner so that the metal skin of the vehicle doesn't interfere with reception for the GPS or for the LTE. We can often get signal in the vehicles when you don't have any bars on your phone, but we can still get an LTE signal. And then GPS, as we mentioned. We can't see a vehicle, again, from a connectivity perspective, if somebody has ripped the module out. Sometimes bad actors do that. Or somebody has requested OnStar to say, I don't want this at all in my vehicle. Please take it, please disconnect it from a technological perspective. Some tools, tech, and support that makes us always ready. I'm not going to read you the full list here, but as mentioned before, since 1996, OnStar has been providing automatic crash response and other services. Initially, it was airbag deployment. The caveat being, airbag deploys, most likely there's been a crash. These folks need some help, so we're going to send out public safety and interact with the vehicle occupants while the first responders are heading out. In 2004, we migrated to automatic crash notification, which includes injury severity prediction. A little bit more on that in just a moment. About 1 million calls come in to our 2 call centers in North America every year. And these are emergency calls. There are many, many more non-emergency types of calls or customer relation management types of situations that our folks deal with. But one thing I want to make sure of is that the folks know in the audience here, and we tell us to public safety as well all the time, just because 1 million calls come into OnStar that are emergencies doesn't mean we have 1 million calls going out to public safety. This, again, where those advisors triage and they evaluate the situation. And we find that many, many of these calls we're actually able to handle in-house and not have to send public safety resources out on. And that includes, if it's just unknown type of thing, we can reduce a lot of that by having these trained advisors, again, triage and evaluate the situation and not utilize valuable public safety resources. We also have priority access into the 911 systems. And as you go down the list, you see we have GPS, we have a command center. We can stand up emergency operations center when there are crisis events, whether it's a localized crisis, regional, national, et cetera. And we have language service, we have suicide hotlines, we have access to poison control, and we also have a software vendor that we utilize to provide crash data electronically to about 25% of the 911 centers across the United States. For us, when you see ECC in our slide decks here, we're talking about 911 centers, emergency communication centers. Now, back to our advisors. There's 200 of them approximately in our 2 call centers in Canada and Charlotte, respectively. By the way, they're geographically diverse, completely redundant. And these are like our Green Berets of call handling specialists. They essentially do just about everything that a 911 telecommunicator does with the exception of dispatching resources. We leave that to the local jurisdiction because they know it best and it's their resources. One thing we're very proud of, our folks are the only accredited center of excellence that is a non-governmental entity in the world. They're accredited to provide medical, fire, and law enforcement type of services as far as instructions, call handling, gathering information, and providing this information to our public safety partners as well. We want to take as much load off of public safety as we can by handing them essentially a package with a lot of information that's ready to go so they don't have to re-interrogate or delay the response. Here's a rendering of what our advisors see when there is an automatic crash response. So again, the vehicle has detected a significant event. This comes through to the OnStar back office, presents to the advisor. And when this comes through, one advisor is going to be contacting 911 immediately because we have the address, we got the location, we got the GPS. We also give a call back so they can call us back directly with any questions after we talk to them. But as you can see here from some of the information, we get very important data such as, is there high injury severity prediction? This indicates this patient should go to a trauma center, based upon the individual forces involved and what the sensors picked up. Airbags deployed, where was the vehicle struck, especially front row occupants, were they there or not, that type of thing. Other important information, what type of vehicle is it from a combustion perspective? Is it an electric vehicle, or is it a diesel or gasoline vehicle? This could be very important for our first responder friends when they have to go out there and interact with this vehicle, especially if extrication or other types of operations are required at that point, kind of specialized operations. And we also can push the call into the system, into the 911 system to make sure it's delivered effectively to the most appropriate 911 center. We actually maintain a database of 911 centers in the United States and Canada that we have full-time staff members doing nothing but scrubbing that data, make sure we have the most accurate information when we send a call out to public safety. We work very closely with agencies such as NHTSA's Office of EMS and the 911 program, which also reports under the Office of EMS. Some of you may be familiar with, of course, the post-crash care related to the roadway safety strategy. Again, our team works closely with the NHTSA folks on this. This particular slide comes from the post-crash care website from NHTSA. And it's a good illustration of kind of why we do what we do at General Motors. Very sobering here, 41,000 people, die every year from motor vehicle accidents in the United States. They die within 30 days from the accident occurrence. And this is really sobering. 43% of these folks were alive when first responders got there. And it's even more sobering when you get into pediatrics. It's in the upper 50%. So obviously we want to try and reduce morbidity and mortality. And so what we're trying to do from the OnStar perspective is get as much information out to the field responders as quickly as possible, not just to 911, but we're working to integrate towards public safety, the actual responders, so the paramedics, to the trauma centers and so forth, so they have this information in real time. They can be better prepared to help the patient. And if you have the resources available to provide pre-hospital blood, which is turning out to be a very significant game changer in increasing morbidity and mortality. It's things like this that has caused General Motors to make a conscientious decision from senior leadership to say from model year 2025 on, all GM vehicles sold in the United States will have automatic crash response as part of the basic package. You do not have to have a membership to OnStar to have automatic crash response activated in your vehicle, right, which is, I think is a very significant testament to GM doing the right thing. Crisis assist is another area that a lot of folks aren't familiar with. I'm going to blow through this to get to the next slide. How we help in a crisis. And so especially for the folks in this community, the transportation community, when you're dealing with situations like Hurricane Helene, or we're helping the folks in Texas with the flooding and so forth, when emergency operations centers are set up and you got your ESF set up, okay, your emergency service functions, reach out to OnStar. We have most likely GM vehicles in your jurisdiction, and there's things that we can help your customers with. We can hopefully help with some evacuation messages. We can provide Wi-Fi to an area. Going back to, do you need a membership or not to get Wi-Fi in a GM vehicle? The answer is not necessarily. If there's a crisis situation, we will turn on Wi-Fi from the OnStar back office to the GM vehicle so that essentially, if they can get an LTE signal, they can have a Wi-Fi hotspot and have up to 7 devices on it. So that, again, helps rebuild that communication pathway. So then we can call folks to let others know their loved ones are okay, or they're not okay, or they're in trouble. We can route folks to shelter, et cetera, et cetera. We want to be an ally in the crisis assist arena. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We got a lot of really cool stuff coming. But we want you to know, reach out to OnStar. If you think, could OnStar help us with this? We got a dedicated 24/7 number. Call us up. That's what we're here for. A couple other things as we get towards the end here. We have some other situations where we can help out public safety and our vehicle owners and the public in general. Stolen vehicles. We have the ability to track stolen vehicles, and then we can also do things such as slow it down and also prevent it from being restarted. All this is only in conjunction with law enforcement, so it's not the Wild West. Our advisors aren't thinking, that's a pretty good idea. No, we work very closely with our law enforcement partners. Other exigent circumstances, carjacking, kidnapping. We've got situations such as silver alerts, amber alerts, missing persons, criminal investigations. We can provide information after the fact, going through our legal system. But you can call the OnStar 866 number, which I'll provide at the very end of this presentation, and they will walk you through that process. And by the way, if it's something happening in real time, we don't worry about a subscription when it comes to things like, oh my gosh, this person's just been carjacked and been shot or whatever. Call OnStar. Do they have a subscription or not? No. We want to help and engage right away, help law enforcement and get the situation taken care of. The subscription stuff is secondary when it comes to the safety, the general safety of our not only vehicle members, but also the public at large. The advisor view, just real quick here, this is like from a stolen vehicle situation. We do have information on the vehicle itself. We can also do things such as law enforcement may want us to flash a hazard light. Maybe it's on the busy interstate and there's 5 Tahoes, white Tahoes. One of them's been stolen. Which one is it? You don't want to pull over the wrong one. And so we can actually flash the lights and the bad actor inside doesn't even know that we're doing it, that type of thing. So again, we try and be pretty creative in how we can work with law enforcement. By the way, we can't, pop the airbag on the bad actor. We can't taser them. We can't eject them out, that type of thing. So anyways, we work closely with law enforcement to help mitigate the situation. Super Cruise is, I mentioned ADAS a little bit earlier. This is our foray into like level 2 towards level 3. This is our basically hands-off ADAS feature. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up, again, it's not a selling point. With OnStar, what occurs if we have an incident, so let's say somebody's utilizing Super Cruise, but they come incapacitated for some reason. It's going to start sending warning signals to not only the vehicle driver, operator, but also to the advisors. They're going to start to get some wherewithal, like something's not right here. And if the operator of the vehicle doesn't respond appropriately, put their hands on the wheel and so forth, then it's going to go into a kind of a fail-safe mode, the Super Cruise will. And the advisors will then try to make voice contact with the vehicle occupant, send field responders, public safety responders if there's no response, and pull the vehicle to a stop and put the hazard lights on. So again, it's another built-in safety component when we're utilizing this form of ADAS. And last but not least, battery electric vehicles. I mentioned before, they're a big part of our world right now. One of my cohorts, Mitch Pedersen, is here. He's a team member who's got a lot of specialty in the area of battery electric vehicle safety, a strong fire rescue and EMS background. And by the way, he's got a presentation that he's going to be taking part in after this particular session in one of the breakouts, so go see him. I believe it's the advanced mobility track. But for connectivity, we also at OnStar can monitor the battery systems as far as, is there anything going on, kind of sketchy with the battery pack? Any signs of something potentially, nefarious starting to happen, so we can intervene real time and apply the right resources to it. And GM also took time to put a full nationwide, actually including Canada, responder training event out for over a year, where we took GM vehicles, personnel and so forth, subject matter experts, and regionally did a lot of training with the first responder and second responder community to get them more familiar with battery electric vehicles. And all this is online. It's all free, open source, so we encourage you to utilize those resources for yourself and for your responder friends. So here's a little bit of contact information. Certainly after this event, if you want to get a hold of me, we'd be more than happy to talk. Again, we're here to collaborate and partner with you. And we do, again, have a dedicated 24/7 number for public safety services. Our online website has public safety components as well as general public components, and there's a QR code as well there. And we got the link to our EV first responder training, if you have any interest in that. Thank you. Hopefully I didn't go too far over, but appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. I'm going to ask you a little bit of a similar question. A lot of safety professionals, while we're all passionate about our jobs, it seems that there's an extra level for safety professionals and their passion for their job and that life-saving critical mission aspect. What is one of your guiding lights for why you do the work that you do?
For me personally, and I guess it would be professionally as well, I started off my public safety career in the fire service, and then I spent the majority of my first responder time, over 20 years, as a paramedic. And what I've noticed is, especially since I've come on board with OnStar, learned more about OnStar, is these tools that are available now, if I'd been aware of them, even though they were available, I didn't understand the meaning and the richness of the information. And so I also spent a lot of time in my public safety career. The second half was in 911. So 911 is who we primarily interact with a lot from the OnStar advisors. And we have a bit of an issue that we're fighting all the time, in that we're trying to get 911 to push the information forward to our field responder friends. So there's a bit of a disconnect. So when you look at those numbers like from the NHTSA slide, and you start to put together, if we can get the responders out there more quickly, better information, and this way we can reduce morbidity and mortality, because trauma has a golden hour, and you got to get these folks that are severely injured into that trauma center within an hour. And so it's all these moving parts and pieces that if you can be more effective and be streamlined, this will reduce mortality. And just one plug in there, they're finding pre-hospital blood on scene within 30 minutes of these traumatic injured folks is reducing the morbidity and mortality by a significant amount. So there's game-changing stuff happening. So I'm super excited to be a part of this revolution. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Jim. Our next speaker, you have to laugh, pulling into the platform is Kara Ivanko. If you love modes as much as we do, you'll be excited about the opening of Siemens' first East Coast manufacturing plant located in Lexington, North Carolina, which will produce the next generation of passenger rail cars in the United States. We can't wait to hear what's coming down the tracks for rail technology. Please join me in welcoming Kara.
Good morning. Thank you, Kat. And I have to say, I just love the puns. I think they're fantastic.
Thank you. I'm glad someone does.
Yes. So I wanted to start off today by asking everybody here a question, and you have to raise your hand as it applies to you. How many people arrived to the summit by car? Lots and lots of hands. How many people arrived to the summit, they flew from somewhere? Got a few. How about by bus? Any walkers? And how about by rail? There's not nearly enough hands raised out there. So we are working very hard at Siemens Mobility to increase the number of people that are taking rail to go from place to place. Why? Because not just that we want traffic off the road so it makes those who are commuting by car easier, but also because of the people that you see up here behind me. Who are they, you might wonder? These are our first 100 employees at our Lexington, North Carolina rail manufacturing plants. I want to tell you a little bit more about it, but before I do, I'm going to let our video tell you a little bit of the details.
It's not just about today, but it's about generation upon generation that will be positively impacted.
That's right. Together we will transform the future of rail.
We've come through decades of hoping and planning, and now we're entering a decade of action.
Our factory will be a showcase of what Made in America looks like in the future.
That's right, it is a showcase of what Made in America really means, and it's happening right here in North Carolina. Our investment of $220 million not only means jobs in the economy, but it also means a future of new rail transportation vehicles. Now I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. I want you to picture of what you think of when you think of a train. You might see a steam engine. You might see a diesel freight train that is going coast to coast. You might see a crowded metro. That's what most people see. On my right, your left, is a picture of a steam engine, but what we're building in Lexington is on the opposite side. This is the Amtrak Arrow. It is the latest in passenger rail technology that will be available in the country. Think about commuting from city to city and being able to be fully connected via Wi-Fi and pushing a stroller down a very wide aisle. It is creating a new passenger experience, and it is reinventing how we think of rail. This is also another picture of our reinvention of rail. This is a picture of the interior of what will be America's fastest train when it goes into service in 2028. This is a picture from Brightline West's high-speed train that will run from Southern California to Las Vegas. It is going to reinvent how we travel. It's going to replace short-haul flights. It is going to connect city pairs in a way that builds new cities in between them. And it's all happening in America, and it's happening right now. So I wanted to not make your eyes blur with this large slide, but I wanted to back up a second and tell you a little bit more about Siemens Mobility. We have been manufacturing trains in the US for more than 40 years, and so we are excited about Lexington because it complements our facility in Sacramento, California, where we have 2,500 employees. In North Carolina, we have another Siemens facility in Wendell that is our electrification and our automation facility, which is helping to complement electric vehicles, which have already been mentioned and discussed. The one other statistic that I want to call your attention to on this slide is the 1 billion passengers. So there are 1 billion passengers who travel on Siemens Mobility trains via our customers, of course, every year. 1 billion. What does that really mean? Well, if you were to give a handshake to 1 billion people and it lasted 2 seconds and you didn't sleep, it would take you 63 years to do that. That is a lot of people that we transport on our vehicles every year. And think, there were not many people who raised their hand before because we are not really at the forefront of passenger rail like some other countries around the world are. So if we get those numbers up, that number grows astronomically, and that's something I am certainly excited about for the future of rail. I do want to take a moment to highlight one of our customers here in North Carolina that is doing a lot of innovation when it comes to rail, and that's CATS in Charlotte. They are our first customer to have a hybrid battery LRV in action in the country, so that is definitely very exciting, and I will let the video tell you a little bit more about it. So it's definitely impressive what's going on in Charlotte. Now, I know not many of you might not be as big as rail fans as I am, and I certainly love trains, and I've been talking your ear off about them for the past couple of minutes, but I wanted to take a couple of moments to talk about other technologies that we are working on. So first of all, I want to talk about our rail infrastructure technology. So technology that is invisible, that you might not see, and that I guarantee you each and every single one of you in this room has interacted with at some point in time, probably honestly within the past couple of weeks, and you didn't even know it. So whether it is a rail crossing or a signaling system, this digital technology is really behind making sure it is rail systems are run more efficiently, both for the operators so that they get capacity information, so that they can make sure their routes are planned clearly, but also for those in their cars, pedestrians, making sure that trains can be controlled remotely, making sure that safety mechanisms are in place. And the great thing about this technology is that because it is digital, because in some cases it is AI driven, it is also able to be continuously remotely updated through different software updates. Now on this other side, how many people here have used a travel app before? Any type of travel app, doesn't have to be rail. Raise their hands high. Whether it's Uber, or it's your favorite airline, or it's public transit, it's to go out and find the best walking route. I guarantee everybody here has used a different travel app at some moment in time. Now, what if those were all in one app and made your whole trip planning experience or your week planning experience easier and more accessible? You might say, well, Kat mentioned Google earlier, and you're right, there is Google out there, but Google doesn't have all of the real-time data that passengers and that people need to plan their routes. They also don't necessarily allow operators to capture all of the data from those people who are purchasing the tickets in the same effective way. In addition, they don't have the opportunity to engage and interact with the riders, whether it be rail systems, whether it be buses, whether it be any other type of public transport. You can't have those push communications. You can't build the relationship over time and get those personalized preferences of your riders if you don't have a holistic system that is being built. So that is certainly something that we are doing around the world in the US and hopefully in North Carolina as well. I wanted to end on just this one note as we think about how we are reinventing the passenger experience and how people experience travel. On this note, we will be doing our grand opening in our Lexington, North Carolina facility this November, and I wanted to take the moment to invite each and every one of you here to come out to Lexington, to see rail, and to hopefully become a rail believer. Thank you.
Thank you, Cara, for sharing what Siemens Mobility is working on for the future of rail. Even with high-speed rail trains, it can't get here fast enough. So it's exciting to hear how Siemens Mobility is shaping the future. I am looking forward to the open house, though. I think that would be interesting. Hopefully all of you can join too. Last but not least, our final speaker is Tyler Duvall. We know that more vehicle and road infrastructure talk talk to each other, the better for everyone. So we're excited to hear about the work CAVNU is doing and really tying in all the different things that we've talked about this morning into Tyler's presentation. So thank you for joining us today, and please welcome Tyler.
Thank you. Great to be back in North Carolina. My daughter just graduated from Wake Forest in May, so I spent the last 4 years driving from Alexandria, Virginia to Winston-Salem, observing everything about I-95 and I-85 along the way. It's a wonderful state. I always say I spent a lot of time in the federal government. Actually succeeded Gene Conti, who I'm sure many of you know, a great pioneer in transportation, great man, and obviously a huge contributor to national transportation discussion. So I'm a huge fan of the state. You all just beat Virginia, my home state, as the best state in the country for business in the CNBC ranking. And I always kind of think of North Carolina as kind of a mix of practical policymaking and receptivity to innovation. And that's the reason companies are coming here. It's the reason why the state, I think, is probably the most exciting state for innovation in the US right now. So it's a big deal for us to be here as CAVNU. We started this thing about 5 years ago. It was a spinoff of Alphabet and Ontario Teachers Pension Fund, very large infrastructure investor, obviously a very large technology company with basically a dual problem statement. I think in effect, when I've been in transportation for 23 years now, and we would always talk about this kind of problem of roadways, effectively this dual problem of inefficiency and safety. And the safety data that we saw earlier, we're still at 40,000 plus people dying every year. That was the number when I left the federal government in 2009. We have seen this massive advancement in vehicle technologies. You heard a little bit about that, but we have not moved the needle materially on road safety in the United States, despite huge innovations happening all around the roadway environment. So that was kind of problem statement one, is that current roadways are not performing efficiently or safely. The problem statement two was that we're seeing this wave of innovation on the vehicle side. You heard about GM's Super Cruise platform. We got Teslas, we got Ford's got a Blue Cruise platform. All of the level 2, level 3, and level 4 vehicles that are coming into the roadway environment are doing so and needing more sensing capabilities, needing more technology to provide the observations, instantaneous observations, but really not getting any help from the roadside itself. And when we started interviewing for technology leaders when we started the company, many of them out of the level 3 and level 4 auto industry, the question I would always ask them is that, you're working on an advanced sensing platform in the vehicle. What % of what you're working on could be mitigated, reduced, eliminated by having better information directly off the roadway? The lowest answer I heard, and these are the engineers, not the policy people, was 30%, and the highest number I heard was 65%, which tells you a little bit about how much that data and how valuable that data is to vehicles. But generally speaking, the roadway environment's unsafe independent of that. So the convergence of these advanced vehicles with the fact that roadways are already unsafe and inefficient, we thought was an opportunity to build a company. So that's what we did. It's called CAVNU. We started 5 years ago in Michigan. Now we have projects in Texas, Virginia, hopefully soon, Florida, Tennessee as well. And at some point, we'd love to do some work in North Carolina. But the basic premise is that in order to provide the accuracy and the information that vehicles need and that road operators need, like NCDOT, you need to observe what's happening on the roadway. And not just general observations, lane level accuracy, instantaneous observations. And those observations then need to be effectively, through software and AI, turned into actionable insights. And I think what we've seen in the ITS world, the Intelligent Transportation System world broadly, is we have a lot of bespoke solutions that are focused on specific problems. Intersections, you've seen a wave of technologies, wrong way driving, bad lighting. So lots of great companies have kind of formed, solutions around bespoke problems, but nobody has taken an integrated view of basically a full sensing environment for the roadway. So that's what we did. We started, as I said, in Michigan and are now in 4 other states. So when we think about roads 1.0, we think about all these deficiencies of gaps in coverage. We see, basically the tolling systems, in our view, are going to need to evolve, beyond just, gantries. We've got incredible machine vision capabilities coming onto the camera platforms today that do all this computing right there at the edge. So all of the analysis and instantaneous observations that I just talked about can be done right there. We don't need to send everything up to a cloud and then back down. We can do it right on the side of the road. So that has advanced dramatically, even in the 5 years since we started this company. We actually on our third generation of hardware right now, and it's incredible what some of the camera manufacturers are capable of doing with respect to, basically on-road sensing. But then you kind of think about continuous coverage, and we always liken ourselves to the air traffic control system. Like, we would never tolerate, the level of risk in aviation that we tolerate on our roadways. And a lot of that comes from gaps in coverage. So imagine if we were trying to run the New York airspace. I used to do a lot of aviation work, and we're like, oh, we're only seeing 10% of the planes. Like, that wouldn't work as an air traffic control capability. And our view is that the high-speed roadways, take I-95, take 85, 77, all these like high-speed roadways, in our view, around the metro areas like Charlotte and Raleigh, they need a higher level of performance from the technology platform. So that's what we've been building. And we really focus on these critical corridors. So, I think the interstates are about 1% of the lane miles in the United States. They carry 25% of the volumes. This is, in our view, the least, this area of technology, area of roadway environment is where technology is least penetrated. And so if you look at the data here, it's not a ton of lane miles. 3,500 is basically what we're targeting. But again, it's the roadways that you use to get to this conference. It's the roadways that basically serve the U.S. economy. And frankly, where all the growth is happening in the Southeast. You look at I-4, you look at I-75, you look at I-35 in Texas. That's where these volumes are surging. And this mix of trucks and cars in those environments is very dangerous and very inefficient. So I think the key for us is 100% observation, 100% awareness. So I think basically the kind of mix of AI with real-time sensing on the road has been a game changer. We have built tools in the last 12 months that would have taken us 5 years to build, basically with AI capabilities. It's not just the language models, it's a whole suite of tools around effectively taking images, taking sensing capabilities and translating those into insights right there. And for those in traffic operations, the ability to leverage AI to effectively manage roadways has never been higher, but we don't have the sensing platforms on the roadway in order to enable that. So we're heavily reliant on things like OnStar, basically, we always refer to like beg, borrowing, and stealing information to try to figure out what to do. And our view is, let's just get the information from the source. Let's get it off the roadway. Let's find the lane level accuracy on the road. So if there's debris on the roadway, I spoke at ITS World Congress last week, and I told the story of when I would drive to Winston-Salem from DC, I would basically count how many miles on 95 and 85 that I did not see either debris in the roadway, stalled vehicle, vulnerable road user. The highest I got was 3 miles. 3 miles of distance where none of that was happening. And that's not an indictment of NCDOT or VDOT or anyone else. That's just the roadway environment that we have everywhere in the United States. It's very hazardous, and we actually have the tools now to do something about it. So this AI capability I just referred to, we've actually bolted on to this sensing and software platform a new tool that effectively allows traffic operators to diagnose what's happening. By the way, very similar to the way OnStar was being described. We can effectively instantly assess what's happened at that site, what the emergency response needs to do. We can provide an AI toolkit effectively to traffic managers who are looking at 15 different roadways, and we can start to really tackle these problems instantly. We're beating Waze 911 calls by 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's literally millisecond level observations. And this is doable. I mean, this is not $500 million a lane mile. This is so cheap relative to some of the other interventions we're doing today. And this has been our big message, is the cost efficiency of doing this now relative to 10 years ago is so much higher. $1 million a mile, you can literally have the sensing capability of some of the most advanced technology companies in the world on your roadways today. So the other big question is, how do we get into the vehicle? So I think obviously GM's been a great pioneer. There are many other firms obviously focused on getting into the vehicle. And we're not in the app business, and we don't intend to sell an app, but we did want to test out effectively the specificity of this sensing. So we built an app for the purpose of testing in Michigan. This is on I-94. We have a partnership with Ford. We'd love to have a partnership with GM, by the way, but we do have a partnership with Ford in Michigan, and we basically built into their Blue Cruise platform, which is similar to the Super Cruise one, effectively an insight-driven thing. So this is a little demo. I think it'll work. Let's see. This is a road we built, I-94 in Michigan. Basically, a mile ahead, we have a stalled vehicle in the left shoulder. this would not be picked up by the vehicle until about 300 to 400 meters in advance. So if you're in an advanced vehicle, this is a problem because the system will disengage if there's some uncertainty in this environment. So in this environment here, dedicated lane, similar to a hot lane, we basically picked up, you'll see this left vehicle, there it is. So that accuracy level is very unique. Most other services will tell you there's a vehicle ahead. It'll typically be wrong, by the way, in terms of the location. And for emergency response, too, it's a huge problem because they get dispatched a lot of times to inaccurate locations, which itself is a safety problem. So I think this connectivity with road users, in Texas, the deployment we just went live with, effectively will send that information into advanced trucks along State Highway 130, which is a parallel route to I-35 outside Austin. So I'll conclude there. Obviously, hopefully I have some time for questions, but we're really excited about North Carolina. I think that the state has just been such a pioneer in so many ways. My daughter literally is right now interviewing to go to the University of North Carolina Medical School. Hopefully that goes well. Much more important than my speech, so thank you. Thanks.
Much appreciated, Tyler. So please join me in thanking all of our speakers for being here today to share the exciting transportation innovation and technology that are working on to improve our transportation system and others worldwide. So at this time, we are going to do a quick Q&A session. We have a bit of time, probably 15 or so minutes. I was telling our panelists beforehand, I would really like to hear from the audience first. We have a wide variety of partners in the room with us today, NCDOT, a lot of consultants, DOT folks. So don't be shy. If you know me, you know I will stand here awkwardly until someone raises their hand and produces a question, or I will call on you individually because I've seen some familiar faces. So we do have our first question. Thank you very much. And there's a microphone coming your way.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole Giammi, and I work with the National Institute. And again, our priority is supporting those small businesses, helping them get contract opportunities within government, as well as with major primes such as yourself. My question for you, I heard a lot of exciting things, a lot of new innovation, a lot of things coming down the pipe. How are you all utilizing, or what's your plans, if you can speak to that, in terms of using some of the small businesses to get you there?
I can speak a little bit about that from the Siemens Mobility perspective. So our local supply chain, including small and minority-owned businesses, is incredibly important to us. It's something that we have prided ourselves on building up a large repertoire and strong relationships with many different suppliers. We oftentimes are participating in different conferences where people can get involved. We have procurement conferences where we invite people to our facilities to learn more about it, and honestly have a large portal online, which is where I'd say the first step should go, and with any new supplier that would be interested in working with us, whether it is something that is very specific as a rail technology, a more general supply chain, we're always looking for new partners.
Yeah, I'd say, repeat that. I mean, basically, we can't survive as a company without small business support. We are small business ourselves, by the way. We're about 50 people. So, but we're working with local contractors because, to install hardware, you need civil designs, you need poles, you need power, you need fiber. All of that requires technical support, which many times comes from local small businesses. The operations platform itself will require all kinds of other businesses to support us. We view ourselves as kind of an integration play, and so hugely supportive of small businesses.
And I would also echo similar to what Siemens does. As far as General Motors, there is the opportunity to go on the website and look at the opportunities that are there. And I can't speak to this directly, but there is the desire to have the supply chain kind of emulate the community. So in other words, kind of represent the folks in the community, whatever they're serving, wherever they're working, to also represent what is being supplied into the General Motors operational workflow.
I'll just say on the bus rapid transit end, we've done industry days to try to bring contractors in and have a networking opportunity for small businesses. And to connect with prime contractors as part of the larger construction activity on that particular capital project. But the city certainly has an office of small business support and opportunity as well. And so we're always looking at trying to connect different people together.
Great, thank you for that. Any other questions from the audience? One is not enough. Yes, there's one right behind you.
Good morning, thank you. The modes I haven't heard much about at this conference so far are walking, biking, and rolling. And every person who enters or exits a motor vehicle, train, or bus is a pedestrian. These people are at special risk on the roadway because they're not protected by the physical structure of a large motor vehicle, bus, or train. How are your technologies protecting people outside vehicles?
Great question.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of our primary areas of focus, actually, is vulnerable road users on roadways. I mean, so on I-94 in Michigan, we are picking up, I mean, it's amazing once you have sensing capabilities of the full roadway, the number of times you see people on the road, cyclists actually on interstates, by the way. So the machine learning tools and models that we build effectively provide instantaneous classification of those VRUs, what they're doing, how they're doing it, in effect to provide insights to help safety. I mean, I think the reason the fatality numbers, to your point, have not come down, it's because that area of our safety performance has gone significantly worse. So that is a huge area of focus of ours. I don't think people realize on high-speed interstates how many VRUs are out there, but you got to see it first to do something about it. So.
Yeah.
I can go. Bus rapid transit, again, on the public transit side, I think that was a good comment. Most trips start out as walking or biking to a particular location. So that first mile, last mile connection is critical in public transportation. For us, for large capital projects, we always look at them as multimodal projects. A lot of our bus rapid transit core corridors are adding a multi-use path or a shared use path alongside the corridor to allow for better access to those transit stations. We're also looking at that just from an overall system-wide perspective to try to close gaps in the network for neighborhoods to try to get better access to transit. So again, I think that it's a critical component. I'd say from an amenities perspective also, we're including bike racks at all the transit stations for bus rapid transit. We're also including bicycles that can board within the vehicle, similar to a rail-style vehicle, so not necessarily having to put your bikes on front of the bus. That's kind of an additional barrier for someone that may not be your avid bicyclist and more a recreational bicyclist.
And I'll add from the rail perspective, certainly safety is a top priority. So whether it is making sure that rail crossings have more capabilities and can react more real time, those digital capabilities are making them safer every day and more reactive to a car that's pulling up last minute or a pedestrian. There's also capabilities on board when it comes to rail vehicles, which are looking at pedestrians, whether it be LiDAR, radar. We have different technologies out there that is certainly a priority. And I would also say that we oftentimes partner with our customers to do training campaigns. Like, it is very critical that people are aware of safety challenges, whether it be around a rail crossing or a grade crossing that is at street level versus elevated. And really that partnership and education is a key component in addition to the technology aspects.
And I can say from just even personal experience with own a GM vehicle, got a newer vehicle, and this particular vehicle does point out to me if there's a pedestrian nearby or approaching and so forth. So it's not super long range. However, it's certainly better than in the past because it could be hitting a blind spot, or you might not even be aware they're there, so especially in dimly lit areas or with no lighting and so forth. And I'd be very surprised if the other OEMs are not also exploring the V2X, the vehicle to everything, the connectivity. So, mentioning the LiDAR, radar, other sensor data that could be brought into the in-head unit in the vehicle and be displayed warning, there is this potential problem ahead, so just be proactive and avoid it altogether. So.
Fantastic. I'm curious for each of you, we've talked a lot about this infrastructure and these projects being in major cities and along major interstates. What is one of your biggest challenges that you see going into the future for implementation in rural areas and providing that same level of access and service not only to pedestrians, but those who might not live in a nearby city or major area?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Look, I think the reality is that the intensity of the technology deployments are going to vary based on the operating environments, right? So the major metro areas, in our view, need the most intensity. And what we need, in my view, is a framework, effectively standards for technology interventions and solutions based on roadway environments. So we don't have that. We have it on the vehicle side. We have this classification of vehicles. Obviously, NHTSA's driven a lot of safety classifications. We need the same thing, I think, on the roadway side, which is what are the performance requirements we want to achieve out of different roadway environments, and then the technology should be effectively designed to support those. For example, our platform is full coverage, 200-meter sensor spacing. You probably don't need that on every rural route. You probably can get away with a half-mile, quarter-mile spacing, as long as you can track vehicles and actors through the scene. That's basically what you need to do. But it's a big challenge, and rural roadways, in many ways, are the least safe roadways in the country. So.
Absolutely.
I'll just speak for, I'll put the OnStar head on specifically, and for us it's going to be all about maintaining connectivity for the folks to be able to get back to OnStar and us be able to reach out to them and to make sure we're keeping them as safe as possible and intervening on their behalf when necessary. And so as like LTE, is starting to proliferate, across the country, you've got entities such as the FirstNet Authority, the congressional build out of first responder networks, but also has a commercial backhaul with LTE that's going into areas that previously were not served. And then we're also looking at other technologies such as low orbit satellite, to be able to utilize that when there is no LTE coverage. And this could also be, you look at rural areas, but also like during a crisis situation, a disaster situation where you've basically become a rural area or, just a, no covered spot due to the situation around the circumstances. So.
Can I make one point about like the way government buys innovation?
Sure.
Because I think this is the heart of the matter in many cases. And for the NCDOT folks in the room, like coming from government and having spent the last 17 years in the private sector, I have this like singular observation that the way government buys innovation is really flawed. And it's just, government should buy performance, should basically dictate the outcomes that it wants. And in my little world, it's, what are the capabilities around identification of risk and communication of those hazards, the accuracy, the latency, define those standards, and then let the private sector basically solve the problem. I think, North Carolina to me is the state that's done that the best in many, many areas. That's why I was so excited to come here. But I think procurement doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think it is the heart of the question with respect to why roadway innovation has not happened faster. So.
Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll add on the public transportation end. You got to have to think about context-sensitive solutions. The return on investment per revenue mile or per passenger isn't the same as in the metro areas and the rural areas. So there are new technologies or different types of technologies from public transportation perspective, like microtransit or more on-demand shuttle types of services that can provide that connection that is still needed for the community in the rural communities. And so you just have to really look at what type of community you're serving and what the best technological solution or option is that is available to you.
Great. And I'll add, because the microtransit's a good point, I think that's really where multimodal and connection and having apps that connect all of those different segments that might be spread out geography, from a geographical standpoint, in one easy-to-use place for people who would be disconnected from different transit systems.
Absolutely. Any other questions from the audience? We have a couple more that I have prepared, but I wanted to check in with you all to see if anything had spurred any additional questions. There's a lot of people and zero questions. It's like a college room in here, a lecture room. For each of you, we have about 5 minutes left, but if you had to pick one innovation that will most impact transportation in the next 5 to 10 years, what do you think that would be from your perspective? And Het, we'll start with you.
I think I'd probably go with the easy one, which is the artificial intelligence and sort of what that means from a technology and integration perspective. There are so many different ways that can be used with inventory tools of really knowing what your assets are, to integrating in the customer experience, user experience side of things, or within the apps themselves, to really provide that opportunity for users to not have to look at a lot of different things or go to a lot of different apps to try to go do certain things, and try to have more information that's readily available to them, that someone else is doing the research for them, and then they're just asking the question and they're getting their answers right away.
Great. And for this, privacy concerns aside, okay, and again, pretty much talking from a safety perspective here, we've got the sensor technology that's been talked about, and as you look at the biological video, radar, LiDAR, and so forth, all this can be presented to a subject matter expert, in addition to utilizing something like AI, but having a human being to kind of moderate and triage the information coming in, and utilize that to do things such as reduce morbidity and mortality by giving more accurate injury severity prediction type of metrics, also providing automatic crash notification, being able to be more proactive and reactive kind of at the same time with the information that's coming in, using smart data, relevant data coming in from all these different sensors. I think that's going to make a huge difference, but it has to be used with caution appropriately. Don't make the assumption that everybody just needs to use this because it's new. We need to engage our customers out there and make sure that we're being collaborative.
Thank you. Cara?
I'm going to go with high-speed rail. When I was a child, I lived in Hong Kong and Belgium, and riding fast trains was an everyday thing, and I think for anybody who's traveled overseas, they've been able to experience that. But in the US, we have really lagged behind, and the Brightline West project, where the trains will run up to 220 miles per hour, is going to be a game changer, and I can't wait to see it connect cities from Richmond to Raleigh and from Charlotte to Atlanta and the rest of the country as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, AI is clearly going to be the driver of the unlock, I think, but the question is, what do we do with it? And I mean, to me, it's in the roadway environment, again, all for high-speed rail too, but in the roadway environment, it's really around creating an agile road system. Basically, it's not just a piece of asphalt or concrete, it's an actual operating system that will allow users to interact with that system and will allow government to basically operate it in a much more dynamic way. I think we have that capability now. It's just really just a question of like where we start to effectively outfit it. But AI is the fuel that I think is going to change everything about how we live. So.
Very transformative, definitely. Well, thank you everyone for your attention, questions, and participation in today's first general session. If you take one thing away from our session today, we hope it's this. The future of transportation is happening now, and each and every one of you are a part of it. From wagons to automated vehicles and smart cars with connected assistants like OnStar, from first flight to electric planes and drones, from steam-powered boats and locomotives to more advanced ferries and high-speed trains, NCDOT is and will be a continuous leader in innovation. It is not just the tech that's important. I really want to hone in on that. It's not just the tech and maybe the gizmos and the gadgets and the flashy things that you may see. It's each and every one of your participation in planning, testing, analyzing, and improving infrastructure and connections, which are critical aspects of innovation needed to successfully lead and implement technological changes for today and for a better and future transportation tomorrow. And with partners like each and every one of you, we can continue that change, improve, and then lead the world of transportation today and into the future. Before we go, I have one small announcement, a little change to our breakout sessions immediately following this session. Improving the DMV customer experience will now be in room 301A and B. The DMV customer experience will be in room 301A and B. So now, advancements in technology across the project lifecycle will now be in room 303. So thank you for that. So now I'd like to bring back our Transportation Board member, Melvin Mitchell, to deliver closing remarks.
Let's give our great panel another round of applause. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending today's session on the horizon, innovative transportation technology. It's exciting to see what's down the road for our transportation network, and we're glad to have you along for the ride. Thank you. We hope you all had enjoyed our session and have a wonderful day.